Page 1. Jina Chansa Pema Gesa Dampala Yatsen Chaging Adranye Pema Jane She Sudra God Kandra Mampaka Kekirje Da Shenge Lao Chi Sa Good Pay Ma Si Di Hong O Ma Hong O Ma Benza Good Pay Ma Si Di Hong Benza Good Pay Ma Si Om Ahung Om Ahung Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om Ahung Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om Ahung Om Ahung Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Sangha Dharma Buddha Benza Guru Pema Siddhi. 3 jewels, 3 roots, 3 kayas. Ma Benza Guru Pema Siddhi. Ma Benza Guru Pema Siddhi. Awaken our body, speech, and mind. Ma Benza Guru Pema, purify and transform us. Benza Guru Pema, and purify, transform, and awakening all. Benza Guru Pema, merge with each of us. Benza Guru Pema. Beam light into each of us, illumining us within. Om Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Siddhi. Merge with us, one with each of us. Ma Siddhi Benza Guru Pema Siddhi. One in the inner clear light. Benza Guru Pema. Beyond oneness and noneness. Benza Guru Pema Siddhi. Imaho. Om Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om Ahung Haho Hri Om Ahung Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om Ahung Om Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Om Benza Guru Siddhi Om Benza Siddhi Om Benza Guru Pema Siddhi Take a deep breath. Inhale, fill up, and relax and empty yourself, empty everything as it is. Decontracting, deconstricting, releasing, letting go, letting be. Let go and let Buddha do it through you. Just sitting, just breathing, just being aware. Awareful, awakeful. Awaring rather than selfing along. Reifying and concretizing, identifying things as me and mine, creating our selfing story. Awaring rather than selfing. Allowing every moment to arise and dissolve on its own, by itself arising, by itself releasing, whatever form it takes. Sounds, sights, taste, physical sensations, touch, thoughts, feelings, emotions. Sparkling dewdrops, bubbles in the sea of awareness. Ripplets on the current of the stream of awareness, while the depth of the stream remains unchanged. Awareness alone, naked awareness, awareness, aware of awareness. Seeing through itself, seeing Buddha, being Buddha, right now, Kundzampo. As it is, as you are. Rest in, abide by, rely on the natural state, or whatever state you think you're in, that will have to do. How sweet it is, the natural great perfection of things left just as they are. Looking, seeing, freeing. 3 steps in one, simultaneous. Experiencing, recognizing or penetrating. And 3rd, releasing, allowing, letting be. Looking, seeing, freeing. Imho. How sweet it is. Yes. This breath, the only breath, this moment, the only moment, the wholly and entirely now. Nowness awareness. The original Buddha. Yes. Lean back a little and relax. Drop the tension, raise the gaze, elevate the scope of global 360-degree sphere of sensitive, receptive, present awareness, empty, open, lucid awareness, incandescent presence, sky gazing, space mingling, infinite dissolving, casting the gaze, the eyes into space, the outer infinite, casting the mind stuff into awareness, the inner infinite, and releasing everything into Rigpa, pure presence, just being the secret, innermost, subtlest infinite, the totality, the groundless ground of being itself, luminous, scentless openness, the radiant, shimmering Buddha mind, one's true nature, the Buddha nature. Imaho. Now, as a tune-up, chanting the five-fold wisdom syllable hung. Hung, 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 hung. Take an in-breath, and with a big out-breath, hung, 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 hung. The oceanic hung. Hung, 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 hung. Hung, 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 hung. Now let's really hung out. Hung, 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 hung. Eyes open, everything open, at ease, natural, spontaneous, relaxed, present, relaxed yet dynamically attentive. That's the secret, middle way of awareness. Om Benza Satu Samaya.
Page 18.
Palaya Benza Satu Tena Pati Sadrita Me. Sutakaya Me Bawa. Sapakaya Me Bawa. Anurata Me Bawa. Sava Siddhi Me Trayata. Sava Kamatsita Me.
Page 19.
Sitam Sriyam Kuruho. Ha 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 ha. Oh, Bhag. Angata Vajra Malema. Vajri Bhawa Maha Samaya Safa. Om Vajra Safa Samaya. Manapalaya. Vajra Safa Tenapati Sadrita Me Bhawa. Suttakaya Me Bhawa. Suttakaya Me Bhawa. Anurata Me Bhawa. Sava Siddhi Me Trayata. Sava Kama Susame. Sita Sriyam Kuro. Aha ha ha. Bhagavad Sava Tata Gata Vajramane. Vajri Bhawa Maha Samaya Safa. Om Vajra Safa Samaya Manupalaya. Vajra Safa Tena Vajra Me Bhawa. Sutakaya Me Bhawa. Supakaya Me Bhawa. Anurata Me Bhawa. Sava Siddhi Me Trayata. Sava Kama Tsutame. Sita Surya Kura. Aha ha. Bhagavad Sava Tata Gata Vajramane. Vajri Bhawa Maha Samaya. Ah, 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 ah. Om Tade.
Page 16, Mantra 4.
Turiya Soha. Tade tu Tade Turiya Soha. Om Tade tu Tade Turiya. Om Tade tu Tade Turiya. Om Tade tu Tade Turiya. so ha to ta to the so ha ta re ta re to the so ha ta re to the so ha ha ta re da to the ta re to ta re to the so ha ta re to ta re to the ta re to ta re to the ta re to ta to the so re to ta re to the re to ta to the so ha to ta to the so ha ta re to ta to the ta re to ta to the so ha ta re to ta re to ta to the so ha ta re to ta to the so ha to ta to the so ha to ta to the ta to ta to the ta to ta to the so ha ta to ta to the so ha ta to ta to the so ha ta to ta to the so ta to ta to the so ha ta to ta to the so ha so ha ta to the so ha ta to so ha ta to the so ha ta to ta to the so ha ta to the ta to the so ta to the so ha to the so ha ta to the so ha ta ta de to the Om ta de to ta de ya so Om ta de to ta to the ya Om ta de to ta de to the so keep it going Om ta. Homage to Tara, the female Buddha. Tara, whose name means star, like a light guiding us home through the darkness. Jetsun Drolma in Tibetan, the liberator, liberatress, swift answerer of prayers. Arya Tara, Holy Buddha Mother Tara, womb of enlightenment, mother of all the enlightened ones. Green like Mother Nature, like spiritual chlorophyll, spiritual growth hormone. Green like emerald, like Mother Nature, like Gaia, living, breathing, deityness of the entire network, Indra's net, the web of being, of which we are always part, never apart from, always a part of. Before we are born, after we die, in every moment of our life, awaking and asleep. Om Ta. The underlying continuity, as it says in Asanga's Anuttara. Alanka, the Gyu Lama. So, Om Ta, the highest underlying continuity. The Holy Mother Tara, hear us, heed our cry. Hear us, heed us, help us, hold us, heal us, holify us, be our 4-H Mother. Purify and transform, awaken and liberate us, purifying and transforming, awakening and liberating the whole world. So we may become just like you. A light in the darkness, a bodhisattva, an edifier, an awakener, spiritual warrior, spiritual activist, enlightened leader, wise elder, benefactor, a light in this benighted world for the betterment of all, a refuge, a solace. Om Ta. O Tara, awaken within us, come down into us and through us into this world. Make us clear channels of your liberating Buddha activity for the betterment of one and all. Praying to you, calling you to come close as if from afar, calling you out to awaken as if from within, calling you up as if by phone, instant message, direct communication. Like your only child, hear us, heed us, hold us, help us, holify us. Calling you out from within into this world through us. Not my life, but thine, O Lord Tara. Om Tara, make me an instrument of your peace, of your Buddha action. So, Om Tare Tu Tare Turiya. Om Tare Tu Tare Turiya. Om Tare Tu Tare Turiya. So, Om Tare Tu Tare Turiya. Together we can. So Om Tare Tu Tare. Empower us, empowering all. So awaken us, awakening all. Delighting us, delighting all. Imaho. Yeah. So Om Tare tu tare turiya soha hare tu tare turiya Om tare tu tare turiya soha Om tare tu tare so Om tare tu tare turiya tu tare turiya soha Om tare tu tare turiya soha Om tare tu tare turiya so tare tu tare turiya so Om tare tu tare turiya so tu tare turiya so tu tare turiya so Homage to Tara, the female personification of Prajnaparamita, innate gnosis, wisdom, Mahashunyata, transcendental wisdom. Homage to the Buddha within, don't overlook her, the Buddha in your own seat. I've been talking this week, instructing, practicing with you about Dzogchen meditation, natural meditation, Tregchud, cutting through, seeing through, being through, in the form of sky gazing. Tregchud, the main meditation of Dzogchen. And it's three practices really of Rushen, subtle discernment, Tregchud, seeing through, and Togyal, being there or leap over. Concentrating on the main practice, Tregchud, seeing through, being through, sky gazing, naked awareness practice. Awareness transparent to itself. Self-reflexive awareness. Incandescent presence and lucid clarity. Empty, open awareness. Dharmakaya mind. View things as they are, the great perfection. Meditation, non-meditation, getting used to that, how it is, as it is, without interference or manipulation, judgment, or reactivity. Leading naturally to action, activity, Buddha activity, compassion and action. View like the sky, infinite, vast, perfect, complete, without corners or crinks, or under and over, outside, inside. Meditation, like a mountain, unshakable, imperturbable, grounded, settled. And action, inexhaustible, spontaneous, like the ocean's waves, yet without ever leaving its bed. The great action of non-action, beyond the dualisms of activity and non-activity, not trying to do nothing either. Flow, not stasis. Beyond action and inaction, the sublime Dharma is accomplished, as Patrul Rinpoche sang. The view. The seminal master of Mahamudra Dzogchen, the first Jamgon Khantrul Rinpoche, said what he calls the 4 deviations from the view. It's too close, so we overlook it. It's right under our noses, it's too close, so we overlook it. It seems too good to be true, so we can't hardly believe it. So we can't believe it. It's It's not outside ourselves, so we can't reach it, obtain it anew, get it, grasp it. And fourth, it's so obvious, it's so transparent, it's so evident, it's so everywhere, we can't notice it, we don't notice it. We see through it without noticing it. The eye by which we see and are seen. How can we see that? How can the bubble know the sea or the fish know the sea, as they say? Just so much in it, nothing to contrast it to. The 4 deviations from the view. Of course, we could talk about many other deviations, and in more developed Dharma talks, I do go into those, as you experienced students know, and you can reflect on those. Like not hurrying. That's more of a deviation from the meditation. And not comparing, and not reacting, and not judging, and not trying to remember or hold on to experiences and collect them. Not letting go too soon of your practice, but not letting go too late. Not holding the raft after you've crossed the water, and so on. You can study those. But that's not what I want to talk about today. That's a whole other subject. Dzogchen is a very essential essence. Simple but deep. Simple, not easy, but simple but deep practice. I have a friend named Harold Talbot. He's rather famous in Tibetan Buddhist circles. He's the philanthropist and Dharma student behind the Buddhayana Foundation that brought Tukutunda Rinpoche to America and Dodrip Chen Rinpoche to America, built the Mahaseda Dzogchen Center, Nyingmapa Center in Western Massachusetts. Tukutunda, the author of many books, which I recommend to you. Tukutunda, like, what's it called? Healing, Powers of Mind, The Secret Treasures of the Nyingmapas, and other books. Longchenpa's Buddha Mind, big book about Longchenpa's Dzogchen teaching, so on. Before Tom, and Harold Talbot started off as a good Christian boy, Catholic school. He went to India as Thomas Merton's secretary and guide, introducer. In the 1960s, Thomas Merton, a famous Cistercian Trappist monk. Thomas Merton, who wanted to study Buddhism, went to the Dalai Lama, and the Dalai Lama said, go to Darjeeling and see Chachol Rinpoche and Kanja Rinpoche, the great old Dzogchen masters, because that's the essence of Buddhism, and that's, you're a Catholic monk, you don't need to study everything about Buddhism, go right to that. Merton was there briefly and met with my teachers. You can read about this in his book, his journal, Asia Journal. Unfortunately, his life was cut off. He went to Bangkok to a conference. I think it may have been a Buddhist conference. I can't remember, a religious conference. And he was electrocuted in the bathtub in a funky hotel. Sad. The great Thomas Merton. But before he left India, Merton said to the young Talbot, you've got to get it straight, kid. This is a quote from Harold Talbot's autobiography. You've got to get it straight, kid. What the Tibetan tradition has to offer us is Dzogchen, and that's where it's at. The sooner you get out of this Himalayan Vatican, the better. The young man I was then followed his advice, pursued Dzogchen, and came to realize what the master Merton was talking about. So even Thomas Merton, with his great experience of world religions, and as you might know, he wrote a bestseller called The Seven-Story Mountain about his spiritual life. In the 50s, he wrote Chang Tzu and the Way of Enlightenment, according to Taoism. He wrote another book about Zen and the Birds of Appetite, about Zen Buddhism. He was an eclectic master, he's Trappist monk. He studied with D.T. Suzuki, master who taught at Columbia in the 50s, along with Allen Ginsberg, Merce Cunningham, and John Cage, and a lot of other seminal thinkers, Jack Kerouac, and a lot of people that influenced us, well, Alan Watts. They all studied with D.T. Suzuki in Columbia in New York in the 50s. And this Merton, he was like the Dalai Lama of his time. He was the most well-known monk of his time, maybe besides the Pope. I mean, I don't know if the Pope was a monk then. at that time. But, besides the Pope, he was the most well-known monk in the world at that time, like the Dalai Lama sort of is now, and the Pope. So even Merton was saying, get out of this thicket of jungle of Tibet, of Buddhist hierarchy, Vatican, and dogma and philosophy and ritual and culture and art and music and all that, and get right to the sunlit clearing at the center of the jungle of Buddhist theory and doctrine, Dzogchen. The sunlit clearing at the center of the jungle of the many teachings and traditions and practices and languages and chants and yogas and visualizations and empowerments. Anybody know how many empowerments there are in Tibetan Buddhism? 17,000. Zen, you know how Zen's a very simple tradition, right? You know how many koans there are? 2,100. Of course, we don't know about that, but this is not simple. These are ancient religions, very well developed. It's like a pharmacopoeia with all the medicines. We only need the one that will heal our illness. Or even better, the panacea, like the view that heals all illnesses. That's another matter. So Dzogchen is like the naked awareness, the Buddha mind practice, the Buddha's own practice at the heart of it all. I'm not saying Buddha sat under the tree saying Dzogchen, Dzogchen, Dzogchen in Tibetan. Of course not. But he was the original, I was going to say stereotype, it's kind of funny, prototype. He is the icon, the prototype of enlightenment, Buddha mind. It doesn't mean his personal, Indian guy born in Nepal mind. The divine mind, the Godhead that's in all of us. That's your share of nirvana. The Godhead is your share of God. And all of God in it, like the hologram, it's all in each part. Like the mandala principle, it's all center, no outside, no periphery. No one is closer than anyone else to that, not saints nor sinners further away. Isn't that marvelous and radical? So it's so close that we overlook it, the great it, the small I and the big T. What is it? If you wonder, that is a good question. Look into that. It's so obvious that we see through it, we don't recognize it. It's not outside, we can't get it anew and obtain it. And the fourth one, it seems too good to be true, we can't hardly believe it. What? It's all in me. I don't have to go to some holy land. I don't have to die and sit at the right hand of Gad to be near it. It seems too good to be true, we can't believe it. Yes, the person in the front of the room, maybe. The Dalai Lama, yes. But me? How could that be? How could I have the same Buddha nature as he does? Or whatever. Me, a poor woman who can't even, receive Kabbalah teachings or who can't even become president. Yes, we're all equal in this country, but not yet quite, as we're well aware. So Dzogchen teaching levels all this. In regular Buddhism, there's the 4 stages leading up to arhatship or liberated saint. There's the 10 bhumis, stages of the bodhisattva. But as my own Khenpo once sang, the 10 stages of the bodhisattva are a beautiful ladder to enlightenment. But when the ladder is flat on the ground, that's Dzogchen. One level, Dzogpa Chenpo. That was his original poem and saying, how brilliant. One level, Sachik Dzogpa Chenpo. You want a level playing field? Don't fight with the patriarchy. Step up to what you are. Be level yourself. When my ship is aright, the whole world comes aright. You can't, iron out all the waves in the ocean. When you right yourself, everything comes aright. That's the secret. As Buddha himself said, this is just a new translation of what Buddha said. You can't cover the world. Remember, his world was a barefoot world of people walking around barefoot or with sandals. You can't cover the world and protect your feet from all the rocks and stones and splinters. You can't cover the whole world with leather, but you can cover your feet with leather. That's the spiritual practice. how we become independent and autonomous, by actualizing the inherent freedom of being, by recovering our true nature, seeing through our false, illusory, protean, iterative self, our false self, our limited self-concepts and all their self-imposed limitations that come with that. So at the center of the clearing of all of these practices that lead to enlightenment, climbing, schlepping up the mountain of enlightenment, the 10th bhumis over many lifetimes, is the sunlit clearing at the center where we can rest in great equanimity, rest meditation like a mountain, rest in great equanimity, dhyani mudra, nowhere to go and no one to go anywhere, nothing to cut through and no one to cut through it, nothing missing and nothing extra to get rid of, the great equanimity. We've talked about Kempo's pithy instructions, not fabricating and not altering and manipulating and not building and also not distracted. Kala Rinpoche always used to teach the Rangbab Sum, the self-settling or letting. Rangbab means like natural flops or droppings. I like the 3 droppings. No, I don't mean shit, piss, and I don't know, puke. Rangbab Sum. Natural settling of the body and the physical energy. Let it be. Natural settling of the breath and the expressions, the voice energy. Let it be. And third, natural settling of the mental energy. Let it be. Like snowflakes settling into a lake. In other words, dropping the body, dropping the breath, energy, speech, expressions. And third, dropping the mind and emotions. Just letting it be. Not getting rid of them. Letting go, letting be. The 3 droppings, Rangbab Sum, Pith Instruction, and Mahamudra. In Dzogchen, we call it the 9 great non-actions, but it's the same, of body, not doing anything positive. Remember, this is in meditation, folks, not in life. Body, not doing anything positive, negative, positive like creating things or beautiful bowings or helping. Not doing anything negative with the body and not doing neutral, like just doodling or drumming your fingers. In other words, we're trying to just thoroughly look at the whole thing, how to let go of all of our activities, including trying to do nothing. So not pushing the river of physicalness. And also of speech and expressions, not talking, not doing anything positive with words like teaching Dharma or saying nice things or beautiful poems, not doing anything negative like harsh, divisive words, and not anything neutral either, like just endless gossip or chit-chat, or anything humming. Expressions, not just voice, expressions. And third, with the mind, not radiating loving kindness and compassion, good as that is in other practices. We're talking about Dzogchen meditation of great equanimity, of great resting, like a mountain, the non-doing, remember. Not talking about don't generate loving kindness at other times, of course. So in the Dzogchen practice, not doing anything positive, negative, or neutral either in the mind. The 9 great non-actions. Just to reinforce and tease out how we're not just sitting there like a bump on a log doing nothing. It's really something, ain't it? Undoing the habit of overdoing. Resting at the origin of all things, as Chuang Tzu said. The disciples asked if they could help dry his hair, long black or long gray hair. He was sitting out in the sun on the ground. They said, "Master, can we help you? Can we dry your hair or something?" He said, "What help do I need? The sun is drying my hair, and I am resting at the origin of all things." That's our practice. Treasure, being through and through, being done. Well done. Thank you. Looking, seeing, freeing, same time, simultaneous. Experiencing, seeing through, recognizing, penetrating, and third, allowing, releasing, including, not trying to get rid of it, undisturbed. Recognizing the impermanent nature of everything. As Buddha said, the 3 characteristics of existence. Anicca, anatta, and dukkha. Anicca, impermanence. Everything is ephemeral, insubstantial, changing, ungraspable. therefore selfless. There's no separate self. There's no eternal, lasting, individual person or thing. Like this, we call it now a table, but it's actually two trunks piled on each other. Or you might put a statue on it and call it an altar, but it's not really an altar. What is an altar? Because everything is changing, there's no solid entityness. Our concepts are temporary. And because of that, everything is dissatisfying in the long run. It's not reliable. Dukkha, skruka, as I call it lovingly. Unsatisfying. Anicca, anatta, and dukkha, the three characteristics of existence. So just resting in the sun, letting the sun dry our hair, metaphorically. Letting the sunlight of awareness take care of ourselves while resting at the origin of all things. That's what we're doing. That's doing a lot. That is healing, the ultimate healing of all conflicts, pushing and pulling. That is why awareness is curative. Awareness is panacean. My late great Dzogchen Master Dudjom Rinpoche, the head of the Nyingmapa school, he used to say, Rigpa is like, of course in Tibetan, Rigpa, and he had two daughters, he knew very well about what he was talking about. Rigpa is like blue jeans, good for every occasion. There's dress jeans to wear to weddings, and there's jeans to wear on sport field or ski slope or riding. Blue jeans, good for every occasion. I used to say dungarees, and now young people say, what are dungarees? We've been talking about the view, meditation, and action, concentrating on the view and the meditation. Soon we'll get to the action and the bodhisattva vows and the paramitas and service and so on. But I wanted to mention a few things, just some of my Dharma talk titles here that we're not going to go into, that I go into in longer retreats, advanced retreats, and other situations. And we do have advanced retreats if you're interested at our center, retreat center outside Austin, Texas. If you're interested, ask with John Dean, because we don't advertise them publicly. It's invitational for experienced students only. In the view, remembering the pointing out or the pith instruction that it's all within you, that we are all Buddhas by nature. We only have to recognize that fact. So you can open to effortlessness, swooping down from above while climbing up from below through relative practices, keeping the view in mind no matter what you're doing, whether it's lighting a candle or radiating loving kindness. Remember that there's no you and other, then it would be really bodhicitta, not just trying to radiate loving kindness to sympathetic people somewhere and wondering if it helps. You see how limited that thinking is. How could it not help if you're one with God? That's the view, friends. Put it in English. How could that not help? Rather than being a separate, alienated person fighting with the world. Even if you're alone, being a separate, alienated state of mind, how could that help? That's the definition of harm. Harming oneself and others in that moment. Not being a light in the world, that's being a dark cloud. Try to open your wisdom eye and see the unity and diversity. All this is the view, the lion's roar of Dzogchen. As when the lion roars, all the little creatures in the forest wake up and are afraid because the lion is the ultimate predator. Nobody preys on them. The lion's roar of Dzogchen wakens everybody. It's startling when we hear we're all Buddhas by nature. It's also controversial. Not just from other schools or other ways of thinking, even from the inner lawyer. What? What about our criminal side? Our fallen human nature, our original sin? That's where Dzogchen comes in with original goodness, the Buddha nature. And then from view comes the meditation. Free and easy, spontaneous, natural, and all the principles we talked about the other day. Flow, aware, clarity. Which is the practice of inner freedom, not reacting. Having awareness intervene between stimulus and response, so we don't just have a knee-jerk habitual pattern reaction, like retaliating in kind, for example, so harmful. So we can choose how, when, and if to react, to respond different than reacting. So we can experience the joy, the uplifting, sattvic joy of meditation, and really hold our seat. Not just space out. Uplifting doesn't just mean, really hold our seat without holding on to anything. Just like have your feet on the ground doesn't mean you have to squinch with your toes and to hold on. Gravity's doing that for you already. The gravity of Buddha nature is taking care of us. Just hold your ground, it's fine. Just take your seat, just be on the spot. Gravity of Buddha nature will do the rest. In the sky-gazing openness and awareness, meditation really plumbing the luminous nowness. The Tao of now, as somebody called it. How marvelous. The holy now, the golden eternity, as Jack Kerouac called it in his major vision in Mexico that he wrote about so much. Realizing that this is the golden eternity, not sometime in the past. Like in Buddhism, we hear some histories about the golden age when Buddha and the disciples were alive, and now we live in the dark age. That's not the Zen or the Dzogchen view. This moment is the golden age when Buddha and the disciples are alive. Unless you're not one of them. Unless you think you're some kind of dark cloud. Aren't we all disciples of Buddha? This is the golden age, and Buddha is speaking right now. I don't mean I'm the Buddha. Everybody says in our tradition, Buddha is speaking right now. Thich Nhat Hanh said, Buddha is still sitting on the Vulture Peak in India teaching. That doesn't mean you have to join the next tour to India. It means Buddha is speaking right now. Listen up, take the pillow off your ears. The alarm clock is ringing. Don't keep hitting the reset button, going back to sleep. That reminds me of my college roommate, who's still one of my best friends, throwing my alarm clock against the wall, totally smashing it, because I kept hitting the alarm clock every 5 minutes for hours in the morning for those 8 o'clock classes. He said, you're never going to go anyway. What do you need this for? And all of this swooping and soaring and climbing, then it leads to the action of Dzogchen, dancing with life. Spontaneous freedom, proactive Buddha activity rather than reactive egocentric karmic activity. That happiness is the way, peace is the way, not waiting. Being there while getting there every step of the way. Manifesting wisdom, the wisdom body of love in life. Not just having the wisdom on your cushion and then in life being confused or dull. And then we get to really living Dharma and being Dharma, not just Buddhist. Buddhist, schmoodist. The great, very wise and lovely former Secretary of the UN, Doug Hammarskjöld, maybe you remember him, some of you ancient ones. He wrote markings before he died in a plane crash prematurely. He was a great, learned and wise person. He said, in the 1950s, he said, in our era, the road to holiness necessarily passes through the world of action. This is not the time for seclusion and reclusion. I mean, it's good, it's great to have a retreat like this, or to go in a monastery, or go in a pilgrimage, or go in a 100-day retreat, or a 3-year retreat. But you still have to come back to life, unless you're a vowed for life monk or nun, which is so rare. I mean, that's a path, but it's a very small one for a few people today. For most of us, integration is the name of the game. The road to holiness has to pass through the world of action. We're lay people, we're Westerners, we live in the modern era. There's no other way. We live in a socially mobile society. We don't have one career a whole life like in the old world. Either you were a monk, a nun, or you were a lay person your whole life. You were born into a caste and you became whatever your father was, really, your shoemaker or tailor or whatever. We're so mobile now. Action, the world of action, not caste, not fixed, not separate. Sacred and mundane inseparable, that's the secret of Dzogchen action, which becomes Bokden, or enhancement. View, meditation, action, and result, or enhancement. Bokden, the great perfection. Authentic presence, our true life. Then we can really say Imaho, and it really comes. And everything we say is a Vajra song, and everything we do is a Vajra dance. And every breath is a prayer. Saint Paul, I think it was, said, make every breath a prayer. What did that mean? keep saying, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I mean, that's fine. But you also might have to say something else, like, pass the butter. Or, wake up, it's time to go to school, Johnny. But every breath being a prayer is the way of awareness, of mindfulness, where every moment is like a bead on your mala. Every moment is a mantra. Bead of awareness, not bead that you have to keep your hands busy with. That's what it means to make every moment a prayer. Make every moment a mantra. Make every breath a mantra, which takes any form. Every form is it. That's sacred vision, pure perception, the action of Dzogchen. Seeing everyone and everything as Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, gods and goddesses, angels and dakinis on the altar of this world. Sacred outlook, pure perception. The way of action to the great perfection, beneficial to all. Being there while getting there, being here while getting there every step of the way, not waiting, not postponing it till all beings are enlightened. That's not the real bodhisattva vow. The real bodhisattva is to awaken, be awake for the benefit of all. What does that have to do with time? Any questions, please? See, time is running as usual. Mouth is running, time is running. Way in the back there.
Thank you. Yesterday you mentioned some bodhisattvas that were associated with nature. I was wondering if you'd talk a little bit more about them.
Oh, that's so esoteric. I was just mentioning each of the elements is sacred. Like in Tibetan Buddhism, it's considered to be a goddess. The goddess of water is Mamaki, and so on. And you can look this up. In fact, I can't even remember the other ones because it so doesn't matter. The principle is there. That fire is divine. That water is divine. That earth is divine. You know, earth, which is in wood and, you know what I'm saying? In Chinese, there's metal and wood. It's all the same. The elements, the natural elements are divine. Not just the invisible, formless God or Buddha nature or empty shunyata. Okay? And fire doesn't just mean, oh, the fire, the beautiful candle. Oh, no, the candle isn't lit. We have to light the candle. That's fire. No, fire also means heat, like the energy and electricity in your body. And water doesn't just mean the water in the beautiful river. It also means the liquids in your body, water element. And air doesn't just mean hot air or wind. It also means your own breath, your own, what you inspire and expire, you know, inspiration, spirit. And space doesn't just mean outer space or even inner space. It means the space we're in, the context. Okay? I can't hear you. So that means our body is a temple. That's why in Tantra, Hindu and Buddhism, we say the body is a temple. And the heart and mind, the spirit is the God in that temple.
So it's almost like everything is Buddha.
Almost. It seems too good to be true. You can't hardly believe it, as the master said. Almost. Let's not jump to conclusions. Check it out, because it's just a rumor until you confirm it for yourself. It's almost just like that. That's right. Remember the Zen song that I sang in the beginning. This land is the pure land, nirvana. This body, the body of Buddha, Nirmanakaya. The Zen master wasn't saying Japan is the pure land. He said this land, this body is the body of Buddha, Tulku, Nirmanakaya. It's almost as if everything is it. But what's keeping us from it? What is this almost anyway, this gap? Yes, questions? Do we have to cut through this gap? Is it really a gap, or is it our way of looking at it? We congeal out of it, have a reference point, and then we're separate from it. We're looking for something, or we're looking at things. That's why I give the meditation, from practice point of view, watching the breath, becoming the breath, becoming that object of attention, watching the candle flame, becoming it, becoming the breath, being it. No separation between subject and object. No interaction, no bumper cars. No outer and inner, no separation. Non-dual, oneness. beyond the ideas of oneness and noneness or no self or supreme self. That's all just on the ideation level. A hyperlink, jump, quantum leap. To inclusiveness, like from flatlands to 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, 5-dimensional. Questions? Yes?
My biggest difficulty of many difficulties is carrying mindfulness out of the meditation hall.
Yeah, it's hopeless.
It's hopeless.
Forget about it.
I can't even get it down to the dinner hall, I can't.
Maybe you should bring your lunch here and then just eat on your cushion. And bring your office here and your family here and your, everything. That's the only way I see to carry mindfulness. But if you practice on your cushion enough, then when you leave, it can carry you. That's my answer. It will carry you when you train, you get used to it a little, and you let it, and also you give it room. Like you give it room. So maybe you get up from here and you start, I don't know, I've seen people like this, you kind of like go slowly and tiptoe, walk slowly like Thich Nhat Hanh, and then you get to the door and you like really slowly open it and you feel every movement, and then, I don't know, and then you get to, let's say, you get near the lunch room and you see other people heading for the door and all of a sudden you start to speed up. So just be aware of that and try to hold it on a little longer. But then when you get used to it after a while, you start seeing there's a natural attention that could be there, not one's idea of fabricated mindfulness. There's a lot of different kinds of mindfulness, as I suspect you have not really figured out. Like there's cultivated and generated mindfulness, there's also natural mindfulness. There's directed mindfulness, like where you're placing your awareness on an object of attention, directed, like to the breath or the candle flame, mindfulness of breathing. Then there's a more undirected mindfulness, like panoramic awareness, lucid presence of mind, focused on whatever arises in the field of perception, not on one object, so it's less directed and less generated and more, like, for example, if you're interested, what Buddha called the interest factor, meaning interested, not banking. I think, for example, if you're really interested, if you're really curious, or if you're really in danger, think about this. If you're walking around in Central Park at night, I don't know, it's just all I can think of. I mean, obviously, if you're on a scout patrol in the jungle that they don't have of Afghanistan, I'm sure you've all experienced this. Anyway, if you're walking in a dangerous place, think about how vigilant, attentive you are because of interest, self-interest, survival, right? Natural mindfulness. You're aware radially of everything. If there's a sound there, you hear it. You're not just thinking breath, in breath, out breath. So you might get, ambushed, right? So that more interest makes a more general, undirected yet very presence of mind awareness, mindfulness. And then there's Dharmakaya mindfulness, where you're not really worried about losing it and you're not trying to get more mindful, and that's the natural awareness state that one arrives at. So practice cultivating mindfulness through the many ways that are always taught, including here. There's a method, it looks like no method, but there's a lot of little tips and pointers and things. And other places and other traditions. I put something on the board that has like 20 tips on meditation from Tricycle magazine. That's very interesting, I thought. Also my essay from that magazine, What is Meditation, is an excellent, highly regarded thing. You might read 2 or 3 pages, very worth reading. Because we can't talk about everything in every detail here. So check it out. And then notice the mindfulness that carries you. If you're really interested, if there's wonderment, if there's curiosity, like children, they're so present. They may be lacking some other qualities of experience or comparative knowledge, They don't know what to call things, but they're just so, wonderment, Ooh, what's that, mommy? They don't have the concept snake. It's like, wow. Everything is like first sight, like dawn of creation. That's the wonderment of awareness. If we could be that much in beginner's mind, what the Zen master Suzuki Roshi called beginner's mind in his famous book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, highly recommended. Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, very much like the Dzogchen view. in Zen words. Beginner's mind, not expert mind, know-it-all, therefore thinking about other things that you'd rather be doing. So that just so attentive, so interested, curious, whatever the word is, that childlike quality, innocence, rather than having a full cup so there's no room to pour any more tea into. Empty, therefore everything comes in and through. And then the next thing. That's the original awareness, the primordial purity of the fresh, naked mindfulness. Like of interest, for example, I was saying if you could get up the interest. Like the polymath Sam Johnson said, nothing focuses the mind as much as the knowledge that you're going to be hung at dawn. Then you might be interested in staying up all night if time is so limited. You see, interest, which really means self-interest, like survival in that jungle or park. Questions? Oh, good. Everything is clear. Thank you. I'll see you tonight.